Life as We Know It with Tom Walton.
In 13 days, Americans will pause to take note of the 15th anniversary of 9/11. It will be another milestone anniversary and an appropriate time to ask, has America moved on? Should it? Certainly the physical signs of renewal are there. The tangle of steel and paper and human remains where the twin towers of the World Trade Center fell have been replaced by a majestic new structure that defiantly says to unspeakable evil, "We are America, and you cannot defeat us or our spirit." Our new Freedom Tower gleams in the sunshine. A symbolic 1,776 feet tall, its message is hardly subtle. And the badly damaged Pentagon was restored and remains the heart of the world's greatest democracy's military might. But have we as a nation regained our emotional footing? For that, we need to look for more subtle indications. For years after the horror of 9/11, Ground Zero meant just one thing: the site of the terror attacks in Lower Manhattan. Some of us might not remember that its original meaning also came with unpleasant connotations. Ground Zero was the term used to describe the site of an atomic bomb detonation. Hiroshima and Nagasaki knew what Ground Zero meant when World War II ended, and those days were pretty frightening too. Over time, however, the term became generic, describing anything that represented the center or middle ground, a place or concept of supreme importance with nothing sinister necessarily attached to it. All that changed on a late summer day in Manhattan 15 years ago when Ground Zero was redefined by evil on a scale never before experienced on American soil. Suddenly the expression disappeared from any other use than to identify the spot where terrorists attacked our country. From that day forward, the term was capitalized. It was no longer generic. It was Ground Zero, capital G, capital Z, and the whole world knew what it meant. Consider the term 9/11 itself. As a nation, we still find it impossible to say 9/11 in any other context. We might call a friend and set a lunch date for 7/14 or 11/20, but we would not say 9/11 works for me. We'd be careful to say September 11th, or we'd pick another day. It's the same for the digits themselves. In an emergency situation, your mind would tell you to call 911, not 9/11. Each set of three numbers has its own significance and its own pronunciation. Today, a decade and a half later, the expression Ground Zero is gradually reemerging from the darkness. Lately, we have begun hearing the term again in other ways. Western Lake Erie, someone said recently, has become Ground Zero in the fight to clean and protect our drinking water. The modest reemergence of Ground Zero in other contexts is not a bad thing. It certainly does not mean that we no longer carry the horrors of that day with us, any more than our remaining World War II veterans and other elderly Americans in their 90s can forget Pearl Harbor. As Pearl does for them, the pain of 9/11 lives on for the nation. Those of us over the age of 25 or so bear an ache that will never leave our hearts.
Life as We Know It is written and hosted by Tom Walton and is a production of WGTE Public Media. Life as We Know It with Tom Walton can be heard on WGTE FM 91 every Monday afternoon during All Things Considered at 5:44 p.m. Or hear past episodes at wgte.org/life.